Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Hi to
Hi.
each of you in the
Hi, everyone.
different parts of the world. And thank you for gathering around our cyber fire. Welcome to the hearth space. It's a hearth with an H on the end. If we took it off, it would be much closer to actually what this invitation brings us to. It's a heart space. And I've called this conversation with this beautiful woman of mercy, of midwifery, and mission, which seems to really speak to some of the central aspects of what it is that have emerged through the coming to know Mary Evans over these last few years. And just before I launch into officially introducing you, Mary, I think I'm going to just say a little bit about what it is that the nature of these conversations is really inviting. I mentioned it as a hearth space, but I think I'd like to introduce me, Heather, in that place as really, I'm just so deeply grateful for the extraordinary life that I've been living. And it happened about a year ago that I realized that this is crazy. I am so wealthy with the amount of riches that I'm experiencing. How can I share them? And the riches that I was talking about are the riches of these embodied relationships with people who are so deeply inspiring. Each of you here are those people, and the ripples of each of our meetings as we go out into the world seems to really touch so many others. So this is a welcoming space, really, so that I get to share some of the treasures that I've encountered over the years, treasures such as you, Mary Evans. And what makes you a treasure? Well, it's really simple. It happened in 2014. We, Gabriella and I, had been invited to bring our forge over to Ireland for the first time. And we were in a place called Clunlu, can you believe it? I mean, what an amazing name. Clunlu in County Sligo. And it was that first point in a workshop where you're just meeting the people that are coming toward you. That's all you're doing. You're just getting to know them face to face for the first time. And in those conversations, quite a lot happens that is not wordy. There's no words to say it. But Mary had come with her nephew. And forgive me if I am not absolutely correct in all of the detail, Mary, of the exact words. But I remember you looked at me and you said, I've brought my nephew, Heather, and we've come to put an end to it. We've come to put an end to something that has been going on in the male lineage in our family for too long. And it all stops here. Now, you said it with the fierceness of an Irish woman who knew herself. And it rocked me to my core because I knew I was face to face with somebody who knew herself, knew what it was she was on the earth to be and to do. And I was met with the privilege of being able to be with you for those 3 days and learn more than I could possibly imagine about those things. So as the years have gone on, much more about you has unfolded, but not very much, just little dits and dots here and there. So when you come face to face, or when I come face to face with somebody who has those qualities, I want to know more, how they're forged, how those qualities are forged. And that's what this conversation I would like to bring today invites. And so here in this hearth space, may I please invite all of the beings of the earth who have so generously been assisted and supported and been made friends through Murray's life. And these are the beings of Ireland. These are the beings of nature. These are the beings of the heart. You're all welcome here. You're all welcome, and you're all welcome. So that's my meeting of you, Murray. And love you to unmute yourself, and this space is yours, and I'm going to fire some questions at you. And just please say hello.
Okay, that's a lovely introduction, Heather. Thank you. Yeah. And I never forget making up my book on that time and the meeting of yourself and Gabriella. So, yeah.
Well, I think it might help you if I kind of fired a few questions in your directions rather than just talked about you and at you. It's sometimes much easier to have a question or two. But I kind of alluded to the fact that for me to find myself in the space with a woman who is so authentically present, I wanted to know immediately where you came from, how you got into that space of fierce strength and presence. And it was only over the next 6 hours or so that it emerged that you had had quite an interesting past. Interesting in my mind.
An interesting past, yes.
So how do I address that? So, Mary Evans, where do you come from? What got you here?
Yeah. Well, physically, I was born in Castleblaney in County Monaghan, which is a border county in Ireland. So we're about 5 miles from the border. That is relevant. And lived there until with my family, 1 brother and 4 sisters, a lot of feminine energy. Until I left there at 18.
You left there. You left your home at 18. Was that a clear direction for you, the leaving home? Were you called to somewhere specific, or were you on a wandering?
No, it felt like that's when I joined the Mercy Sisters. And that was, as I reflected on it, a sort of a need to deepen my own spirit, or it was a call to live a life that was from a deep spiritual place.
Had you been raised in a spiritually inclined family, or?
I was raised in a very devotional family, very Catholic family, and a very devotional family. And went to school with the Mercy Sisters. But there was, it didn't, and I remember this being noted by whoever interviewed me, didn't really matter that it was Mercy. To me, it was the only way at that time. That was 1977. At that time, it was the only way to become immersed, as I saw it, in a deeply spiritual life. So that's what I wanted.
Do you know, it's just struck a really interesting chord with me, Mari. You said immersed. I've been looking a little bit about the energy of words and the derivation and through sound, and there we are, immersed. And I wonder about mercy itself. I don't know, I'm an Australian girl. I grew up in a fairly ordinary, if there is such a thing as ordinary, my upbringing was fairly ordinary, a beautiful average middle-class family in suburban Melbourne, and there was a nunnery, a convent, on the tram route that I would travel every day. And this big building, this big austere building, to this young girl, I hadn't really flowered yet with too much, although I won't digress there, but I was really intrigued. I was actually quite compelled and intrigued as to what is the life of a nun. But I never got to find out. You actually were and are the first nun. Well, you're not the only nun now that I know, but you were the first nun I'd ever met. Would you call yourself a nun or a sister? I mean, what's the difference?
There isn't any.
There isn't.
Well, I suppose by the time I entered, they were moving towards calling each other sisters rather than nuns. And, you know, it was post-Vatican II. There were a lot of changes going on. People were beginning to wear colour, things like that. The veils weren't being worn as much. There's a whole lot of things emerging within the Congregation of Mercy. But like, yes, I lived that life for 36 years, or I probably lived it for fairly much for 30 years, and the other 6 were where I'm moving towards the edge of finding my own life again. Yeah.
Okay. 36 years as a nun. You weren't living behind a wall. This I know for sure. You were out in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, we had, when I entered, we had a 2-year time when you were very strictly inside, in behind the wall, for 2 years. They would have called it the novitiate at the time, or being a novice. And that was when you were doing a lot of study, a lot of theology, a lot of study of the mystics. There was time for, or there was scheduled time for prayer, there was scheduled time for everything in those 2 years. So that was quite strict. It was intense. And that was a time when you didn't see family, you didn't see friends. You became, as it was then, really into mercy way of life. And it was sort of, you know, people would have described that time as a hothouse.
Right.
You know, like being in a hothouse for 2 years. And then you came out and met with the reality of women who were living this life for so long, for so long. And here you were with all your ideals and having studied mercy and studied Catherine Macaulay, the woman who founded the Mercy congregation. And yeah, it was different.
It was different to what? Different to life outside?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I bet. I mean, when you say hothouse, I was imagining a stripping away. But only aspects strip away, and then the other becomes even more intensely available, I'm guessing. So there's nothing to be stripped there. And so at a point, you've done 2 years of your ordination, as a novitiate, and then there's a choice point for yourself, or what happened?
Then there was there were different stages, because after those 2 years, you asked to receive what first profession. And so that was a decision made by the community, whether you were able to be professed or not. And that was first profession, and then you were in what they call temporary vows for 5 years or 6 years. Yeah, after that, during which you were accountable to one of the sisters who met you on a regular basis. Now, during that time, I trained as a nurse, and I was nursing as well. So,
in Ireland still?
Yeah. Yeah. I trained in Belfast, in the heart of 1980 in Belfast.
Wow.
And 1980 to 83. So, yeah, and I would have come back on my time off back to the centre or the mother house, or and during that time, then that would have been sort of a looking at your life, how you're living it as a mercy woman, and how you weren't living it as a mercy woman, and all of that. Yeah.
And I mean, gosh, I kind of haven't really allowed myself to enter into the question, what is it like being in Belfast in those years?
Yeah. Yeah, that was some experience to be in Belfast, and to, it was a time of war. And it was a time when, if you missed the last bus through the city, you walked silently, hearing only your own footsteps.
Wow.
And the army would be in every corner.
Wow.
And it was a tough time. And working in an emergency room in casualty in the Mater Hospital was, it was often gunshot wounds, and and yet when I was there, that was it. That was normal.
Yeah.
There was nothing extraordinary about it.
I get that, actually. That is kind of, we're always looking outside of ourselves and seeing the extraordinary, but when we're in it, it is just actually what it is we're immersed in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, did you also train as a midwife during those years, or did that come later on?
Well, I made my final profession then with some difficulty, because they didn't think I was ready.
Ready to make a choice? Ready to... What's ready?
One of the things that was wrong with me was that I had a lot of anger. So I was asked to go to counselling for a year before I would be accepted to make my final profession, and they would make a decision then at the end of the year.
Wow. How was that for you to be told that you had a lot of anger, or did you know it? I mean, was this an opportunity, or?
I certainly didn't see it as an opportunity at the time. And I mean, many ways, Heather, the life was meant to be, with very little emotion. Right. So here I was, as I am, and as you know me to be, I am a very passionate woman.
A creature of fire, in fact, I would
say. And being able to hold that most of the time. But I didn't quite hold it, obviously. So I went to counselling for a year. I fulfilled what I needed. And
but this was counselling within the order, presumably.
Well, I was sent to another order, but a sister who would understand the way of life, and
Oh my gosh! So all of those ideas about, where I am. I've gone straight to Austria. I've gone straight to The Sound of Music. I've gone to, how do you solve a problem like Maria? How do you keep a wave upon the sand? How do you find a word that means Marie Evans? I mean, she couldn't be contained. If there was a fire wanting to move through that beautiful nun, she had to allow it to flow, and there you are. But still, it's a finding process, yes?
Yeah. And I mean, eventually I learned a lot about myself through the counselling. when I got over the fact that, you know, I was sent to counselling. And then I made my final profession. So that's a big deal. That's a big ceremony. And the bishop in the church does that. And
See, I've never heard that phrase before, Murray. A final profession. And I know that, you know, profession only is a title that falls to a very few. The lawyers, the judges, those within a religious order, doctors. It's a very fine choice, strong, clear choice.
Yeah.
Final profession. Okay, so what I know of you in this regard is not the detail around the time, but at a certain point, it must have been after this, you were presented with a choice when to find yourself in a mission hospital in Kenya. Was that the next most natural step for you?
Yes, I went back to Belfast to do my midwifery again. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And as soon as I was qualified, I was asked, would I go to Kenya, to a mission in Kenya that was run by the Mercy Sisters. It was a mission hospital, Motomo Hospital in the Kitui district of East Africa, and semi-desert. And of course I said yes, of course I'll go. And I went for a year, and 12 years later.
Oh, you've just faded a little bit, Mari. How many years later?
12.
12 years later. All right. So I know that everybody in this space is probably just going, 12 years, it's a long time. Okay. At least that's what I was perceiving. What, can you take us there? Can you take us to what a day, a week, a month, a year in the life of a mission nurse in Kenya, or a mission sister in Kenya is? What?
Okay. Well, first of all, to arrive in Nairobi, the capital of Kenya, and then to travel 7 hours from Nairobi to Motomo, to the village of Motomo. On that road, the last 2 hours of it, there were 5 riverbeds. Should it rain, should it ever rain, every 2 years,
Please God, let it rain.
then the rivers would be high, and the possibility that you would be the night on one side of the river and not be able to get through until the next day, until the river went down.
Right.
So that brings you, you know, when you got there then. So we had, the hospital was a 150-bedded hospital. It was the only hospital in the area. It was very busy all the time. In that, people came when they were in crisis only. Because, you know, there was a lot of going to the witch doctor first, and then, well, if it didn't work, we'll go to the Masungo. And the Masungo was the white doctor.
Oh, okay.
And so people came, and often mothers came. Pregnant mothers came at the last minute. And not at the last minute, because labor was natural. They had all their babies at home. So they would often be pushed in a wheelbarrow for miles to the hospital because there was no transport. And if you're in labor, I've never been in labor, but you have, Heather.
I have.
Yeah. Can you imagine going over in a wheelbarrow being...
I cannot. I cannot. And I'm interested because you said, for most of these women, labor was natural, but they're being brought in by wheelbarrow at the last minute because the signs of emergency are
There's
showing.
something wrong.
So everything is about at the last minute,
Yeah.
really crisis.
Yeah. Yeah. So therefore, you had a lot of babies that were born dead, mothers that... all the things that I was told in Belfast. Now, you're never going to see this. You need to read it and you need to know it for your exams, but you're never going to see it.
Wow.
I saw.
You saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. Daily. Yeah.
Daily, nightly. Do you have any idea how many new lives you assisted to bring into the world?
No. So some of the words that I know very well in Kikamba, which was the local language, was Kevea Monopu Mama, which was basically push like hell. Kevea Monopu Mama.
Push like hell. Push like hell. I've seen you push.
I think everybody at the last workshop saw me push. somewhere in the middle of... it's here on the reed.
When the anvil gets stuck,
there's a spot.
Were you speaking the local dialect at that time, Miss Murray?
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Yeah.
Push like heck. Wow.
Yeah.
Dear sweet you, thank you. Amazing.
Yeah.
You also, a whisper of some of that time, just, a tiny little thread. You said, Heather, I don't eat rice. I ate rice every day for 12 years. I'll cook anything, but I won't cook rice.
Yeah.
I mean, what I got was a picture that days off was not something that happened. I mean, when you're on a mission or in a mission hospital, this is everything, isn't it? This is your whole existence. The whole reason for being is this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, officially, at one level, you did have a day off, which was in the house, in our house. And because you didn't have any facilities, that was the day to do your washing, and everything was hand washed. There was no electricity, and the water was very scarce. So you had your bucket of water to do your washing, and things like that. So it was, but you were always on call, and there was a great addiction there, because I was so needed.
Okay, cool.
Oh my God, was I needed and vital. And when I left after 12 years, it was like, how would the hospital ever stand up without me?
Mm-hmm.
It is still standing and doing very well.
So that was a big choice. If you had that sense of your own value in the world at that time, whether it was an addictive impulse or not, to come to the place in yourself where something else had to happen. I'd like to hear about that.
That happened because, well, I was home in Ireland, and I was sitting looking at the Atlantic Ocean with 3 friends, and they were talking about how wonderful it was. And I said, I know how wonderful it is, I just don't feel a thing. And in that moment, when I realized that, I realized, gosh, I am in need of coming back, in need of stopping this. And that was very much encouraged by my Mercy friends here in Ireland, not so much encouraged by the Mercies in Kenya because the need was so great.
Ah.
But there's a poem of Mary Oliver's that really carried me through that whole time, and that was, you know,
can you share it?
Do you know it?
Which one? Will you share it with us?
Suddenly, I knew what I had to do and began. Though the voices around me shouted their bad advice. And it goes on to say, you know, I can only save one life. This it's called The Journey, and it's just a beautiful poem, and that was what carried me and helped me make my decision.
Wow, thank you for that. Did you all hear? It's called The Journey, Mary Oliver. Wow. I'm just breathing into that space, actually. And what a mighty transition, even though you had the backup of your own spiritual practice, that you'd been a very long way out on your own from your hearth of the community of Ireland. What was it like? Was it like a bump coming back, or?
Yeah, that was huge. Coming back was much bigger than ever going out there. And I always remember my sister. I came home for a wedding, and I said on the way from the airport, stop, I need to get toothpaste. And she pulled in at Sainsbury's. And I went into Sainsbury's, and half an hour later, she found me staring at the shelves and shelves of toothpaste.
Oh, yeah.
Not able to see, because we could get toothpaste in Motomo. We could get Colgate. That was it. You didn't choose.
Yes.
So in the village, you could get Colgate toothpaste. So to be just, and that describes for me everything.
Yeah.
It was all of a sudden, all these choices were in front of you. It was a huge transition.
I'm familiar with that very crisis, Mari. I'm very familiar with it. A person very, very dear to me was in a London borough and was in a big supermarket, a big one, just like this. And he had been asked to go and buy some shampoo, I believe, for the family of the people that he was living with. And as he describes it, it was a moment where he just stood in front of this shelf. You know, he lived in London. This was not completely out of his norm. But he stood in front of the shelf, or the shelves, and he was frozen, completely frozen, with the sheer terror of that much choice. It just literally dumped itself in on him. And I think it's true to say that it became a real crisis of confidence for that particular person, and actually took quite some recovering from this kind of dynamic senselessness just staring him in the face. And how do you function in that way suddenly?
Yeah, and that was the feeling about everything.
Right. Somebody has, my attention's going over to the chat. Somebody has just I can't quite.
I've posted the poem.
Beautiful.
I've put the poem by Mary Oliver in the chat. So
thank you, Gabriella. That's absolutely beautiful. One day you finally knew what you had to do and began, though the voices around you kept shouting. And some of these voices, the shampoo bottles, they're shouting. The toothpaste tubes, they're shouting. Okay.
I'm just going to move a little bit for a second because I have a little guide that needs to get in here. So I'll walk with you.
Yeah, great. Nice to be in your home.
Yeah.
We have some four-legged friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she's part of the conversation here. Okay. There you go. There we are. Okay.
Okay, we're going to get to see her.
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Okay.
Nope.
All right.
Moya knows her. She has to fleet through, but that's her work.
Okay.
Just glide through. Yeah.
All right. So, Mari, where would you like to go? Would you like to go to America, or would you like to go to that moment? Yes, I think it's America. What took you to America? What happened then, apart from an airplane or a ship or a train or whatever it was?
Yeah, I took a year in Ireland when I came back from Kenya, and I lived on my own, and I was still part of the Mercy congregation, did a few bits and pieces of work. But I knew I needed to get away. I needed to get away from anybody knowing that I was a missionary. And I hated this thing of being called a returned missionary.
Oh my God, that's what you were called.
Yeah. And invited to speak at different places about the hospital and fundraise for the hospital. And I found that extremely difficult. So, I found a course that was for people who had been on mission. It was in America, and some of it was based on body work. And I knew that I needed that. So off I head to Massachusetts for, I think it was a 6-month course.
Nice. So your body got to receive something.
Yeah. It was great. It was, and what I loved about America is nobody knew me.
And we all know that one. Yeah, just anonymous. Mari, was that really the first time? I'm just wondering, because I said that about your body got to receive something. Was that the beginning of something new for you in the engagement with your body to do a course like that? Yeah.
So that was a whole new awakening for me. And that followed on then with, beginning to learn some energy work, beginning to experience, oh my God, this is embodied spirituality. We're not meant to be disembodied. And I can have feelings again, and I can, that's okay. And it wasn't about trying to be from a head place, I suppose, was embodied, and I knew that I loved it.
That's a whole different kind of an awakening.
Yeah.
Lovely. But you're still ordained, you're still officially nun.
No.
Oh, you do
in America. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, not now. Sorry. No, at that time. Yeah.
I am. But I mean, the Mercies were very good to me in that they gave me that time and the money to do that course, and I really appreciated that. I mean, and I appreciated just having the time and the space to explore. I mean, America's a great place to explore. Yeah. So, I was there for 6 years. And part of those 6 years was working in hospice as the spiritual coordinator.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for community-based hospice. And that was just lovely work. I loved it.
So I'm in the complete and full awareness of you as a midwife now. You as a midwife to the births that look like coming into body, but also maybe the births that look like the leaving of body. Were you present for the deaths of people, or were you more in administrative?
No, I would have been present if people wanted that.
So, Mary, can you speak about midwifery? What is that? In this space, it's, well, it's much more than we think. I think you know a lot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, to me now it's much more about walking alongside anybody in wherever, and it's not about giving them on a pew anymore or push like hell. It's not about pushing. It's just walking side by side. Because I do feel we all know where we're stuck. And we don't, and we just sometimes need someone to say, I know. I know.
I think that was the quality that I recognized in you that day, that very first day. By the end of that 3-day workshop, I came back to England. I remember saying to Gabriella that there's, in Mari, I know that if I ever require something that just allows me fully to be met, I know where I can go. I know that I could make contact with you and that you would be a presence and an energy that could allow me in my whatever situation to be met. And I'm not sure that I had really fully experienced that in myself. There's a kind of a shy point that happens if you're vulnerable, where a natural tendency for many of us, and it is for me, is to actually retreat and go into my own hermit-like state. For that's a place filled with sometimes shame, sometimes the uglies, those judgments. But I know that I met a quality in you at that time that actually assisted me over these last years, even though I never had to go and knock on your door and say, Mary, I need you to just be with me. The fact that you exist with that vast wealth, that musculature of the heart that knows what it is to just simply walk alongside, gave me a stilling. You added to my emotional vocabulary.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, actually, it's thank you. Thank you. And I think you do know that there were a few times during difficult moments where yet another ending or another threshold moment was happening in my personal life. All I had to do at that point was just to make a small contact via an email. And it was never to say, could you hold me here? But it was just that connection to the energetic that you have. For anybody that would ever need to know that that's possible, I'm grateful that we're having this conversation, actually. It's funny how it turns up, isn't it? Okay. Thank you. Then you said to me in an email just recently, and then there was a fierce need to return home. A fierce need to return home. I love that.
Yeah. And I had a great life in the States, but I knew Ireland was calling me back. I knew that, and I luckily, I was still part of the congregation. They wanted me back. They had specific work that they wanted me to do. And so I said, okay, yeah, I'll come back. And I was ready. I was delighted to come back. And I would do the work that I was asked to do, but I also said I wanted to begin my own energy healing practice. So if I could do that work 4 days, let me have 1 day of doing my own specific energy healing. So that happened.
That's beautiful. That's so liberating.
Yeah. But I knew that I needed to be on Irish soil again.
Okay. So what is that? What is that? Was it in your body? How did you denote the fierce need?
Oh yeah, but it is such a fierce, it's just that the grounding of this country, the challenge of this country that will call forth both the Cailleach and the white owl from us. It will bring us to the depths of our shadow, and it will bring us to the heights of our enlightenment. This country will do that, walk on its land.
Now listen, none of us would miss for a second the energy that you just transmitted through what you're saying there with the Cailleach and the white owl. Everything just changed.
Yeah.
Everything. Oh, we can't get away without hearing a little bit more about that. So the fierce need has led you to something different, a whole new impulse. She's gone. So Gabri, I think we might just see what's happened. She's just dipped out with a fierce need. You just needed a pee break or something, presumably.
It's the energy of the Cailleach and the white owl together.
Exactly. Mary, just so you know, Karis has had to leave. Terry's just had to leave. She's got to get to Washington, and she's in Virginia, and so she's just so sorry to leave. But it gave her a chance to say goodbye. So,
okay.
Yeah, but the Cailleach and the white owl. So, Gabri, should we start recording?
Done.
We are. Okay, so the Cailleach and the white owl completely blew you off screen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we might have to explain to just a few what these two beings are referring to, these two energies are referring to. Yeah,
gosh, Moya might join in there with me, seeing as she visited the Cailleach yesterday. To me, the Cailleach is, she's the old midwife, and she can travel, with her stick up hills, and she can go very fast. And she will she will show you the depth of your shadow. Come with me. I will show you. And she will walk with you into that place. And the energy of the white owl is the energy that I understand as the white owl who will walk with you through that, through it, into your light. So it's the it's the beautiful it's the beautiful balance. But it's in our country, and and you know this, Gabriella and Heather, Moya, and anybody who's been here. It's in the land. It sinks you down, and it won't let you. I feel like it won't let you compromise. Are you really serious? Remember that spiritual life that you entered the convent for years ago? Well, here it is now.
Right. Yeah. Unhindered, raw spiritual life. Yeah. I had an encounter with a white owl directly on more than one occasion in a Dorsetshire countryside.
Mm.
a physical white owl, barn owl.
Mm.
It might even be 3 occasions that I've literally been driving down a lane and a very large nighttime owl has literally flown with me, almost just escorting the car.
Wow.
Once I had a friend with me, but on 2 other occasions, and it just flew just in front of me all the way through, and I got to the end of the intersection and off she went.
Mm.
Can you imagine such a privilege?
Mm. Mm. I love it.
But it's actually only through you that I hear of the white owl spoken of in this way. I knew that I was in the presence of grace and a gift, a total gift, but I haven't heard her referred to in this way. And this is the language of a true Irish Celtic shaman, I would say. This is not the language of a woman who has only been bound by the orders of any kind of vows to a religious cloth, a religious order. This is the language of a shaman in some way. Would you agree, or am I being a little bit narrow there?
No, I wouldn't agree that it's the language possibly of a shaman. Yes, it is of that. It is of that vintage. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, does it naturally fall to us now to ask you how you became more, let's say, of the energy that you spoke just now when you were speaking of the Kailiak and the white owl? Because everything about you changed when you said that, and then we lost you. So this is your deflowering, your derobing in some way, energetically. There you are.
Yeah.
So would you tell us what happened?
So in America, I began to study with a Native American shaman, Sue Corrigan, and there were 2 of us doing an apprenticeship with her. So we did that for 3 years and learned a lot there. I was very interested. I was immersed again in this whole new world, and yet it wasn't new, and I knew that, and possibly the call from Ireland was to re-engage with the old knowing. So doing that was quite an experience, and then I came back to Ireland, and we have a centre here for the Irish Centre for Shamanic Studies in Dundee. It does quite a what would I say? It follows quite a path on the shamanic journey, but it's a weekend of soul's journey, retrieval, all of those things of teaching. Yeah. So to get the piece of paper that I needed, I went there and I did several of the courses there, including the shamanic counseling, and all of that was very powerful. And then Moya and I shared a teacher, Nak, Paula, and she's a Mexican woman.
Yeah.
And we continued to do that apprenticeship with her.
A Mexican teacher who came over and worked in Ireland, yes, on Irish soil with Irish women only, or mixed group?
Mixed, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. So that was another deepening of and that taught me so much. But I was ready to learn so much.
Yeah.
So in all of that now is the experience of trusting myself and trusting that yes, I can be taught in this way, and I've had brilliant teachers, powerful teachers, and but okay, what is this? What nobody taught me to use the medicine bowl the way I use it.
Well, actually, that was the next place I was going to. So, how are you working with this rich treasure trove of teachers, teaching, and the life of meeting your own shadow? Tell us. There it is in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm working now with listening to my own wisdom, and really, it's a combination. It's a combination of, yes, I needed all the training, and I needed the teachers, but now it is a case of listen. There are different vibrations, and there are different ways of working. Just trust, and I suppose a little bit of that. Moving more from the Kalyak into the white owl energy requires a different vibration from me, and yeah. So,
Yeah.
anybody wonder? I'm tired talking.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. And while you had dipped off with the white owl for a second, I said to these beautiful women who are with us that if they had any questions, if they wanted to say anything to contribute, really to open the space up, I would really love, though, to hear you describe something very beautiful that you've just done recently. It was a piece of work that you did with a small group of women that you've been working with. You went on a retreat at Villanova. And there's something so beautiful and so illustrative about what you as a group of women did. I would love you to just give an example of what it is that you're doing now with individuals and with small groups of people that just opens up more of life. That's what I experience when I hear you. You've opened up more of life for so many more people than you probably could sneeze a good old cold at.
Yeah. Well. My work is very small. It's small groups. It's not big groups. It's small, and so the weekend in Bundoran was called Choose Life, and it was about making choices. And can we choose? We did choose to come, but can we choose to stay? Can we choose to be here now? And the beautiful music for Samhain was what that spoke to me, was be here. So yes, there are souls passing over, and yes, be here. Be here with all of your humanity, all of your body, be here. And so the group of women that came, 4 out of the 5 women had made a bowl. And 4, so they brought their bowls. It was beautiful. And the 5th woman then got the medicine bowl to have for the weekend. So as we worked together, then at the end of every session, it was beautiful because it was, at one moment we worked with the point where I didn't want to be here anymore. Tell me about a moment like that. And that was a very strong moment. We were holding the energy for those who don't want to be here. And it was a particular energy that night. And they spoke about it, and that was really strong energy. And for them at the end of that to take their bowl and sound the bowl and sound their bowl with that energy. Let the bowl take it. Let the bowl change the vibration. So I can now choose. I can choose to be here. It was so powerful. And it changed the vibration completely. And always working with the bowls just changes the vibration. So thank you both for coming back and coming back again next year.
Yeah, we'll be back.
Yeah.
We'll be back. It strikes such a deep chord for us, this land that you're speaking from. Gabri, did you want to speak something?
No, I just thought that was so beautiful, that little story that you just spoke. Very, very powerful. Transmission. You just did a transmission.
Mm. Mm. Is there anything that any of you other midwives, medicine women, missionless ones, those who are still choosing life, would like to add or contribute here?
Or ask.
Definitely, or ask. Yes, Sarah has her hand up. I've never seen a hand up. So Sarah, I'm going to unmute you, and let's hope that it works. Oh, no, it's not. Sarah, if you go to the bottom left of your screen with your mouse, you should be able to unmute yourself. There you are. If you speak now.
Mary, Vedanta, how are you? Ladies, I'm new in here in this little group. I've heard, Moya, hi dear, I know you dear. Heather and Gabrielle, yes, I've heard about you. I've heard about you a lot. Mary is a dear, dear friend of mine for many, many, many years. Mary, I just am so grateful I had this opportunity because it's only on the last minute. When I rushed back from Strand Hill, and my appointment was cancelled, and I started fiddling here with the laptop, and by a miracle, you had about 4 minutes into the program, and I had spent a half hour at that time. So it's a whole new world for me, this sharing as well. Thank you. I'm going to, if I may, just share an observation, Mary. What a difference. I know Heather pointed it out. It was striking. Your delivery of your life from the beginning of time up to, remind me of that, the two, the white eagle and the white owl and that moment. But the animation with which you came across from then on, wow, oozing from you. Just thank you. Choosing life, ladies, for the rest of you, it was a very major part of my life when I was dying one time, and Mary was at my bedside, and I know that Mary wants to say to me, now you choose life. So listening, Mary, to your sharing on that great weekend, it speaks clearly to me. Yes, you've encouraged me to choose life. Now you're telling me very clearly that it's time I did it for myself.
Wow.
That's only one example of the many, many great graces I've received from you through my lifetime. And just keep on keeping on, woman. I'm proud of you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Hi there.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Wow.
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. Great to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, I think we've come to the most natural closure. I just can't think that we could say anything more other than thank you for what it is you bring, what it is you do, that you keep on, and just like I'm so wealthy.
Thank you, Heather. And thanks, Gabriella. Catherine, thank you. Jennifer, Moya, Sarah, Jenny, thank you.
Simone, every one of you. And what a beautiful listening space you've all created.
Yeah, very beautiful.
For this. Thank you so much for coming, because, you know, we could have done this as three, but this is a receiving space for women to honor the life of another woman. I'm so grateful to know you. So, heart, hands, smiles, gratitude all around. Mari, I salute your reed and I salute your medicine ball. Siddhanta. And this is the copper bell that I made this weekend. And it deeply connected me to my land, my homeland of Australia. And it's a copper-headed snake, rainbow nation creation being who also salutes you. So from the depths of my heart and my land, thank you to you. I'd like to play it to complete the conversation and honor your read. Yeah. Thank you, dear ones. Lovely, beautiful.